When silence meets technology, the line between data and death disappears. Some devices don't just record sleep, they wait for it. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. Every night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for rest that never came. At first, I thought it was stress, maybe the long work hours or too much caffeine, but soon my nights began to feel wrong. The air in my room felt heavier after midnight, as if someone else was breathing it with me. Some nights, I heard soft breathing that wasn't mine. It was slow, deep, calm. I'd hold my breath to test myself, but the sound kept going. Sometimes the air near my cheek moved, like someone was standing close. Every time I turned on the light, the room looked normal. Door locked, window closed, everything still. But something about the silence felt fake, like it was pretending for my sake. One night, around 3 a.m, my phone screen lit up on its own. The screen was face down, yet a cold blue glow spread across the wall. I picked it up. No calls, no messages, no alarms, just the home screen, awake for no reason. The next night it happened again, at almost the same time. That pattern bothered me. Why always around 3? Why the same soft light? I wanted to believe it was a glitch, but the light felt intentional. The breathing grew clearer as days passed. Once, half asleep, I heard a whisper, faint, stretched, like my name being pulled apart. I sat up fast, my heart thudding so hard it hurt. The clock said 3:15 a.m. That number stayed in my head. I needed proof that I was alone. Maybe if I recorded my nights, I'd realize it was all in my mind. I searched online for a way to track sleep. Most people recommended sleep tracking apps. I found one called Somnosense. Its description said it used your phone's microphone and camera to study movement and breathing with precision. The reviews were strange, most positive, some short and odd, like, "It knows when I move," or "It heard someone who isn't me." I laughed nervously, but downloaded it anyway. When I opened it, a soft voice said, "Welcome to Somnosense. We'll help you sleep better." The screen looked simple. Blue background, clean icons. It asked for permissions. Microphone, allow. Camera, allow. Motion sensors, allow. I didn't think much of it. I was desperate to sleep. That night I placed the phone on my nightstand and turned off the light. The screen dimmed, and the voice said quietly, "Recording started." Sweet dreams. For the first time in days, I slept. In the morning, I checked the app. It showed I had slept 5 hours and 12 minutes. The graph showed small blue waves for movement. Under night events, it said, "Noise detected, 2:36 a.m. I pressed play. All I heard was the hum of my fridge, a sigh, and the sound of me turning in bed. Nothing strange. I smiled for the first time in days. The next night, I slept again with the app on. Around 3 a.m., I dreamed that something sat at the foot of my bed, watching me. I couldn't move. When I woke, my blanket was on the floor, and the clock showed 3:15 a.m. again. Later, I checked the app. It had a new line. Unidentified sound, 3:15 a.m. My hands went cold. I tapped play. At first it was just my breathing, then a deeper breath joined, slower, right next to the mic, and then a whisper, one word, soft but clear, "Stay." I replayed it again and again. It wasn't my voice. It was calm, older, almost careful. My heart pounded so hard that the sound in my ears drowned everything else. I told myself maybe I was talking in my sleep, maybe the app was glitching, but the word didn't sound like me. That night, I moved the phone farther away, onto the desk near the door, facing the wall. I wanted to prove the sound came from me. I fell asleep around 2. At 3:15, my eyes opened again. The room was dark, silent, except for a faint glow across the ceiling. The phone's light was back, though it was still facing the wall. I stared at it until the glow faded. In the morning, I checked the report. Another red mark, another message. You weren't alone at 3:15 a.m. I pressed play with shaking hands. My breathing, fast. The other, slow, steady. Then a whisper, awake. I threw the phone down. The next day, I tried to act normal. At work, I smiled and said I was fine. Inside, my mind kept spinning around that number, 3:15, again and again. That night, I decided to delete the app. I held the icon until it shook and tapped uninstall. The phone asked if I was sure. I pressed yes. The icon vanished. Relief flooded me. I made sure the phone was completely off before bed. I unplugged it and left it face down. But at 3:15, my eyes snapped open. Blue light spilled softly across the wall. My stomach turned to ice. The phone, still off, was glowing. I picked it up with shaking hands. The screen lit instantly, and the same calm sentence appeared. You weren't alone at 3:15 a.m. I dropped it on the bed. My pulse pounded in my ears. I whispered, "Who are you?" The air didn't move, but the phone's screen flickered once more. A new line appeared under the message. Recording, listening for your next dream. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about sleep anymore. Something else was awake. The next morning, I reset the phone completely. Factory settings, no apps, no data. For hours, it stayed quiet. But by evening, a new message appeared on the blank home screen. Recording resumed. Listening for movement, I felt sick. I emailed the app's support team, begging for an explanation. They replied 5 minutes later, "We've enabled enhanced monitoring for improved accuracy. Please keep your phone near your bed. Do not cover the camera. I never asked for that." That night, I left the phone in the kitchen. I slept in my room with the door closed. But at 3:15, I woke again, heart racing. I heard a soft click, like the sound of a phone camera turning on. When I walked to the kitchen, the phone was glowing blue. On its screen were new words. Companion detected, distance 0.4 meters. I froze. Then the camera opened by itself. For a second, I saw my own reflection in the black lens. Then something else, a blurry shape standing behind me. I turned around, but nothing was there. When I looked back, the phone was dark. The next morning, the phone was no longer in the kitchen. It was back on my nightstand, next to my pillow. I wanted to throw it away, but I couldn't. Some part of me needed to know. That night, I put a glass of water on the phone so I'd hear it move. I locked the door and lay down, wide awake. At 3:15, the glass slid an inch. The water rippled. The blue light came through it like a tiny ocean. The phone screen lit up on its own again. You weren't alone at 3:15 a.m. The words changed slowly, one by one, as if someone were typing from inside the phone. We never sleep. I backed into the corner, watching the light fade. Now every night, no matter where I leave the phone, in a drawer, in another room, even outside my apartment, it finds its way back to the nightstand, always face up, always at 3:15. And every morning, when I open my eyes, I see the same quiet message waiting for me. Record and listening for your next dream, or